How I feel? Blessed. What I want?
Get back so I love the way she rockin' it. I love the way she move it, shake it on me. When she cry for him, the shawty is the winner. You can tell that shawty's no beginner. She's confident. I love the way she move.
YouTube, what's going on? It's Juan Gotti here. We have the Washington Commanders live stream. And in today's live stream, I'm joined by a heavy hitter. Everyone knows who he is, Rico from Street Scores. How you doing, my man? I appreciate you for joining us tonight.
Yes, sir. What's happening with you, man? I'm just excited. Get my boy to 7K, man. Let's do it.
Yes, sir. Hey, first things first, closing in on that 22,000, man. Just do you ever take time to reflect on like just the beginning stages of it and just sometimes just like look at that subscriber count and be like, wow, there is 22,000 people subscribed to to me and to come here and create this beautiful community. How does it feel, first of all? And like, do you ever take time to reflect on that?
Only really like when people bring it up. Like I not like on my own. I don't really think about it, but somebody will always bring up, especially my family. They celebrate it every time I reach like another mini milestone and things like that. And then also I have like a few friends that like have YouTube channels. They do other stuff and they got more subscribers than me. So I've just always my whole thing has been hawking them down, and I've been catching up.
Yeah.
I haven't caught them yet, but my whole thing's been like I'm on them. I'm
Yeah.
right behind them.
Yeah, nah, that's definitely like again, man. You already know you, Ed, Louis T, holding it down for us, man. And I can't, appreciate that more. The hard work that y'all put in, you specifically, since I got you on tonight. Got to give you your flowers each and every time coming across 30, 40-minute videos. I know it is definitely tough, sitting there editing all of that, man. You do the thing, dog. You really do, and like
Appreciate it.
the work you put in to the videos, it's outstanding, man. And I definitely want to be the one to give you your flowers. You know what I'm saying? If you don't hear it enough, so coming from
Appreciate
me, bro, you definitely one of them ones, my man.
Hey, I mean, when we talking about hard working though, don't nobody put out as many videos as you, bit dog. Like for real, like three a day, man. Like you don't be playing, man. I can't even keep up all the time. I be trying to beat, but hey, man, we talking about hard work, man. You might got it. I ain't gonna hold you.
Nah, I appreciate that. All right, so hey, before we get to our boys, we got to talk about somebody specifically close to you. I see you tweeting it out. Might be his number one fan. That man Anthony Edwards going crazy right now. I
Yeah.
understand they lost game one, but I think I don't really, know too many like specific like Anthony Edwards fans, but I'm gonna go ahead and say you probably the biggest one in general. I mean, just speak on like obviously he's from where you're from, so that I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure that plays in a part of why you support him so heavy. But like to speak to like his game and like the overall, I guess, big reason as to why you're a fan of him. And then also the Timberwolves. Like, do you think they'll end up winning this series or go to the finals? And like, I guess like the impact of someone potentially winning the championship from your city.
Yeah. So yeah, of course, the majority of it is where he's from. He from up there, Oakland City. He went to Thorough, so he's about like 15 minutes from me. He over there like Zone 4, like close to West End, with like little baby and them from, like just Southwest Atlanta. I'm a little bit souther and western from where he from, but
Yeah.
yeah. So what got me started is, first of all, even before he went to UGA, I just of course, like his name was around the city. Then when he went to UGA, he was like the number one recruit, number two at worst. It was like him and James Wiseman the whole way from high school all the way up to the draft and things like that. And then once I noticed that, I was like, okay, so he went to UGA. He could have easily have gone to one of the top programs like Kentucky or North Carolina, but he like chose to go home with Georgia to try to put us on the map. Now, granted, the basketball team is still pretty sorry, and it was very
Yeah.
sorry when he was there, but that was just love for him to do it for the hometown team.
Yeah.
And then going to the NBA. I mean, he fairly raw. LaMelo Ball won Offensive Rookie of the Year, things like that. But I'm not really surprised. Like his work ethic, he's elite athleticism. But of course, most of it starts with where he's from and his personality, because he's the most relatable athlete I've ever seen. Like I went to the same high school as like Cam Newton, Adam Pac-Man Jones, and a few other people, and they were very relatable too. Like I rock with them the long way, all of that. But I mean, Anthony Edwards literally reminds me of like 10 of my friends. Like the way he talks, the Jonin nonstop, the way that I mean, he did the funny Marco up at the JJ's that we go to on Old Nat. Like, I mean, he's the most relatable athlete any sport I've ever watched. And so like that just what drew me in. And then I stayed for the fact that he's actually good. Like he's actually balling. I love the face of the league comments. I mean, we'll have to see. I feel like he's still got to earn it a little bit more. And then as far as like this series right now, I'm still very confident that they'll win it. I mean, I am disappointed in them giving up the home court advantage, but I mean, we've seen from the Nuggets games that, I mean, home or away is really how they play. I don't really feel like whoever's home court really matters that much. At least to the Timberwolves have shown they lose at home and win away. So I'm still confident though. I think the Nuggets are a better team than the Mavericks. I think they played very lazily in the first half. And then when they tried to step it up, after trying to like kind of, slim through it a little bit while taking a breather. Once they tried to turn it on, it was too late. And I feel like Luka played clutch, but I'm still confident they're going to go to the finals.
Yeah, I mean, and to just speak a little bit more about that series, and then we'll jump into the Commanders talk. I saw a clip where I guess Karl-Anthony Towns, they didn't count the bucket that he had or whatever. I'm not sure. That was me, that was BS. I felt like the ball was coming off the rim. I don't know, but it definitely, for me, as far as like NBA watching as a whole, you really can't go wrong with whoever wins the finals this year because it's one of the young superstars, whether it's Luka, whether it's Anthony Edwards, whether it's Jason Tatum or Tyrese Halliburton. Somebody is going to win a ring, and it's going to be good for the NBA because one of their young stars is going to be put on a mountain. But
and market us. They weren't marketing, especially Ant. I've been screaming Ant for 2 years. Like, y'all keep giving all this attention to John. Yeah, John's really fun and stuff like that. But Anthony Edwards is funnier off the court, personally. And I like John too, but like Anthony is just way more authentic. Like, I mean, he really from that. Like, you see him, all of the time, different videos and stuff. Just him being him is just fun because, I mean, it's just, again, extremely relatable. And so I've been screaming it for a couple of years now, and I'm upset, but I'm still kind of happy that it's happened, that it took this long for him to finally go into the playoffs, for Twitter to notice him, for the actual NBA to talk about him. I mean, we went from not talking about him at all to Jordan and face of the league comparisons all within like a couple of months. I'm like, this could have been gradual, but either way, I'm happy that he's getting the attention that he's getting.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I was thinking about, and it's probably because I saw Wale the first like celebrity to wear them, but I might gotta give me some AE1s before they blow up, before they start getting to them Jordan prices, man.
Really expensive. Yeah, I'm trying to get the slimes. I'm trying to get them green one, the slime ones for sure.
Yeah, man. So all right, let's get to our Commanders, man. It's unfortunate because we know this is the time of the year where it's not a lot to talk about, but I mean, we always have storylines. The first thing that I want to talk about is the Emmanuel Forbes thing. I made a video on it, and it kind of got a lot of feedback, and it was mixed opinions. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about with John Kahn basically coming out saying he doesn't think he's going to be a starter, and I personally I kind of sided with Kahn because I wasn't high on the draft pick in the first place. I felt like Christian Gonzalez should have been the pick. But people were kind of frustrated with my opinion and my take on that. How do you feel about Emmanuel Forbes headed into year 2? Are you kind of like, all right, there's a chance that he can morph into something with this new coaching staff? Do you think John Kahn's comments have some type of validity to it? He was being used as a punt returner too, like that whole Emmanuel Forbes thing going on. How are you feeling about that?
I mean, I think he has the potential to be good. I mean, I like the fact that I feel like the way it's more so being looked at it as he's gonna have to earn that starting role. I mean, you've played. You're coming into like your second season. You got benched last year. You were hurt a couple of times. He didn't even play a full rookie season. Whereas you have Michael Davis and Benjamin St-Juste who have been in the league for at least 3 years each. So it's kind of like, these are the veterans where everybody's starting on a clean slate. You're going to have to earn that starting role. Also, I do want to point out the fact, I forgot who said it. I don't remember if it was John Kahn or Logan Paul. Somebody recently, like today or yesterday, mentioned that he was starting like yesterday or something like that. But maybe it's like part of a rotation or whatever it is. But I think the main thing is he needs to go out there and earn it. You don't just hand him that starting role off rip. But the reason I'm optimistic about him is because not only did he have like a top 30 visit with the Cowboys, and there was a report that apparently Dan Quinn and those guys may have even drafted him in the first round if he fell to them. So they clearly like him. And I mean, I guess that's really all that matters. If Dan Quinn likes him, even if I don't, it sounds like they're going to find a way to use him correctly. But also, there's a blueprint from the Dallas Cowboys last year. Benjamin St. Juste, unless we go and get a Stephon Gilmore, can really kind of be a Stephon Gilmore, the longer corner that's going to cover like the Mike Evanses, like we have to deal with week one and things like that. Whereas, you have your cover corner on one side. Michael Davis can rotate in and out there as well. And then Emmanuel Forbes can just interception hunt. That's what made him a first-round pick. That's what made him set a record in college at Mississippi State and things like that. Just let him interception hunt. He's going to give up big plays, but he's also going to make plays as well. And you kind of got to live with that risk, similar to how the Cowboys did it with Trevon Diggs. And then Trevon Diggs got hurt. And then fifth-round pick DaRon Bland. Now, I'm not saying that Emmanuel Forbes should have been drafted with 13th overall over Christian Gonzalez, but he was a first-round pick, and DaRon Bland was a fifth-round pick for a reason. I feel like the talent's there. DaRon Bland excelled in the scheme that they had last year. I feel like bringing that scheme over here could actually find, that inner talent that he has on him. Don't ask him to cover a guy for 5 seconds. Ask him to look for the ball and hunt the ball, not necessarily cover the receiver per se. And I think he can excel in that role. Because, again, we've seen Trevon Diggs and DaRon Bland do it pretty well. He's going to give up a touchdown or two, but he's also going to have a pick six to, kind of make up for it a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, we can go back to last year for a second, and like looking back on it now, we could probably openly say after that AJ Brown matchup, he was done for the year. Like
Yeah.
he mentally just could not rebound from that, and I'm scared for it again this year, to be honest with you. But just looking at this cornerback room, I'm a fan of bringing in one of these veterans. I personally am a little bit concerned about the room as a whole. You know what I'm saying? Emmanuel Forbes. I like Mike Sanders still. Honestly, I feel more confident in his ability to be really good than I am Emmanuel Forbes.
Oh, yeah,
and
for
that,
sure.
I don't know if that says a lot about Forbes, but calling him the best pound-for-pound player, Nick Saban, when Caleb Woods there, Jayden Daniels there, Drake May, all these quarterbacks, that I think that really says something about his potential. But again, he's mainly going to be a nickel. So those boundary corners really for me is a concern. I like Benjamin St. Juste. I was a big BSJ fan. But my concern with him is, can he stay healthy? I'm not really sure if he can stay healthy for a 17-game stretch. Michael Davis is solid, is cool. I don't really know what to expect from him. I hear Caillou Blue Kelly's name is ringing a lot of bells in mini camp and OTAs and whatnot. So maybe we have something there, but I'll be remiss to say, like, I'm a little bit concerned. I would want to get a Stephon Gilmore, Xavier Howard. I really am on board with that. I'm not sure if that's in something that they would entertain. I'm not sure if they're waiting towards training camp because those guys are in no rush to sign. I'm not really sure why they don't attack a veteran unless they just feel really confident in the room. Speak to the room as a whole. How are you feeling about it? And do you see Washington potentially adding to this room?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm definitely concerned about it. I think it's similar to like the offensive line where it's like, maybe we want to look at some veterans that are out there. I really feel like the only reason we haven't gone to get a guy now is that I'm just assuming. I haven't heard anything or anything. My logic is that they're maybe waiting until training camp to see what these guys actually look like. We'll get to offensive line, I'm pretty sure, at some point. But like Brandon Coleman, the reason we haven't gone to get a veteran left tackle, I think they just want to give him an opportunity to see if he can start at left tackle in training camp. Maybe he's developed mightily since the last time we've seen him on the field for TCU. Maybe he just had this ascension during the offseason working out by himself. And, I mean, he looks taller. I know that was a lot of people's worry about him. He looks like a big guy out there. So maybe he is ready to start week one. Maybe they don't want to jump the gun too early to put out much, put a hit against the cap for a guy that they really may end up not needing because the younger guy is ready sooner than they think. So I think like mainly with Emmanuel Forbes and those guys, I think they just want to see how they do first, especially in training camp. Once we put on the pads, we have contact. And then maybe, like, hopefully, if Stephon Gilmore is still out there, then you sign him. Me personally, I would just go ahead and do it today, but I'm assuming that's why we haven't. I'm pretty sure that he's on their radar. I'm just assuming Dan Quinn has called him and been like, hey, man, just wait on it. We may need you. Just chill out for a second. I'm hoping they've had that conversation because I'm not confident either, but that's what I'm thinking that they're thinking right now. Let's give these guys a chance to show what they can do in training camp with the pads on.
Yeah, I'm with you, though. I'm saying sign him right now. Because he played good last year, and he fits Quinn's scheme. He knows Quinn's scheme. It can kind of be like a situation where we got Bobby Wagner because he was with Dan Quinn in Seattle, so he knows he's familiar with Dan Quinn and he can show the young guys the ropes, even if it's not for him to play an every down snap kind of thing. I feel like we have kind of that in place for every position group. Zach Ertz with Cliff Kingsbury has familiar with him. And like I said, I'll mention Bobby Wagner with Dan Quinn and countless other guys. Dorrance Armstrong familiar with Dan Quinn, Joe Witt. So I feel like if we bring that in, that would not only help us solidify that boundary cornerback for the year, but it could also boost Emmanuel Forbes, Mike Sanford, still the young fellas in the back end. So again, yeah, I'm concerned about it, but I definitely like I said, I trying to believe in this coach staff and push come to shove, maybe around training camp time, maybe around when people start releasing other guys. I don't know, post June 1 cuts. I'm not really sure. Like maybe we'll see what's going on. But right now, obviously, we are going to chill out and just continue to see what happens. All right. So now moving on to let's
Oh,
see.
before we go to, just to remind
Yeah,
you, like Benjamin St. Juice and Michael Davis's contracts end after this season too, so we have a
that's what I was
long-term
gonna
problem as
say.
well.
Yeah, I did mention that in the video I made earlier. I was like, the only two guys that were under contract is San Francisco and Forbes. So, and I'm
Crazy.
like, it's Benjamin St. Juice. He could play good, but then after the season, did he play good enough that warrant him a 3-year contract extension with the team, or are we gonna let him walk? Which at this point, and projecting how BSJ, I don't know, BSJ could definitely explode again. He could just turn into this absolute stud in the scheme, but considering how he played the last couple years, he's been solid. But probably considering we can draft the corner next year, because I hear there's some heavy hitters coming out next year. Free agency, you probably don't even need to bring a Benjamin St. Juice back. You can afford to lose Benjamin St. Juice. And I know he's not here anymore, but honestly, I was fine with letting Kendall Fuller walk, but I was very interested, like if we would have kept him, how he would have played in this game, and maybe because I think Kendall Fuller can play at this level. Obviously, as we know, he's done it. He's been doing it for years. But he takes away one side, then you got San Francisco in the slot, and then that allows you to interchange or rotate between BSJ and Forbes. That way, you only have really one issue if it even is an issue. But we're past that, unfortunately, my man. Kendall, is in Miami now, so he's
Yeah.
all good over there. But moving on to the next kind of topic thing. I kind of want to save JD for last because we know that's the excitement. That's what everybody wants to chop it about. Let's talk about Jamin Davis. He is somebody that we got an interesting note on today, that he's been getting some work at edge rusher. Now, I'm gonna give myself a pat on the back because I've been saying this for like two years ago, and I think
Yeah.
it's like, for me, it's like with the last regime, it was kind of like, if us fans can see it, why don't the people that get paid the millions of dollars do it? Or can they not see it, or they just being oblivious to it? Like I'm telling you, Rico, man, for 2 years now, I've been screaming, put Jamin Davis at edge, at least see what he can do. Use him
Yeah.
in a Micah Parsons kind of role. Not saying he's nowhere near Micah Parsons level, but again, he hasn't been successful as a stand-up linebacker. We tried him at middle linebacker. All right, the game may be too fast for him. He may not be able to handle calling the defense, blah, blah, blah. But his best ability is going to get the quarterback and just using his athleticism. So try him at edge rusher. I've been screaming that for 2 years. And it seems like Dan Quinn is doing that, at least in OTAs. Speak to that. Jamin Davis, this is a big year for him, honestly. If he can't get it done this year, then I don't really have no more, like, I don't think it's ever going to happen. They already declined his 5th-year option, so again, it's literally like the final year. Speak to Jamin Davis. How do you feel about him and the news about him being used kind of in an edge rushing role? Could you see that being something that we do in the regular season?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, because I feel like the way the linebacker group is looking right now, I mean, you draft Jordan McGee, he's going to be like your really good coverage guy. I mean, Jeremy Chin may even be like a hybrid safety linebacker star, or what most people probably still remember it as is Buffalo nickel. But he'll kind of be in the box around there as well. And then, of course, you have Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner is going to be the quarterback of the defense, the run stopper that occasionally goes into coverage as well. Frankie Louvu be in coverage, but will also go after the quarterback, but from like the A gap more so than anything, blitzing right up the middle, stopping the run as well. I feel like Jamin Davis, to be on the field as much as possible, is gonna have to bring some edge rusher upside, just to be on the field with those other guys that already are very talented. I mean, Jordan McGee is coming out with better instincts coming out of college than Jamin Davis had coming out of college. So I'm pretty sure he's gonna ascend and play more than what people probably assume he will be just off rip as a rookie. Some people may only look at him as like a special teams guy, but I think he may surprise people. But I mean, we've seen Micah Parsons. I mean, next to who we have now, Dorrance Armstrong. Micah Parsons will be on the outside shoulder of Dorrance Armstrong. I think Jamin Davis can do that as well. And he also showed flashes last year, like against the Falcons, team I hate the most. That that end of the game locking up Bijan Robinson was fantastic. Ask him to do that occasionally. He will get killed on wheel routes, every now and then. But you can ask him to cover. You can ask him to go after the quarterback. Ask him to stop the run a little bit less. And we've seen he just can't handle being the quarterback of the defense. Like even when Cole Holcomb was healthy, he started to look better as an off-ball linebacker. Now he definitely has that next to him if you still want to use him in that role. But I feel like him going after the quarterback, to your point, is like his highest ceiling. That's really his calling. That should have been his calling for a while now, honestly.
Yeah, man. Again, big year for him. This is going into the 21 draft class, and I mean, Ron Rivera's drafts, just looking back on it, was so bad, man. Like, okay, that 2020 draft class at this point, no one panned out. Cam Curl was our most successful person, and we did not re-sign him. But like that Chase Young whole debacle, who ended up Sadiq Charles, he ended up going, to Tennessee, but he was never nothing. Shaka Tony didn't end up being anything like that. Whole 2020 class ended up being bad. This 21 class, who was our most successful player, is looking like maybe BSJ. I don't know. Like Dayami's kind of non-existent. Some people don't even think he's making the roster this summer. Like.
And they gave Mike his 2. They gave Mike Sandersville his number 2. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, and I'm like, at first I was kind of like, nah, it's no way Dayami don't make it. But I'm like, it might be up. Like, you hear his name in trade talks too. I'm like, hey, he may actually not make this roster. And then what? 2020, 2022 Jack class, Jahan Dawson, he's cool, but I mean, other than that, who else panned out from that draft class so far?
Darian Mathis had done nothing. I mean, John Ridgeway technically wasn't part of our draft class, but we got him before the season started.
Yeah, B-Rob is probably B-Rob has probably been our most successful guy. Which what I'm saying. At first, I didn't really like the pick because I was so heavy Antonio Gibson, another ATL boy or Georgia boy. I don't know if he's Atlanta, but Georgia boy. I was so
Metro
heavy.
Atlanta. Yeah, he's from around.
I was so heavy AT that I was like, I didn't really want B-Rob, but we took him, and now I'm probably like a huge B-Rob fan. I think he's gonna be really good, But like you mentioned, but Darian Mathis absolutely has done nothing for us. And then this past draft, the jury's still out. It's still kind of early, but Forbes didn't make a good first impression. So this 2024 draft class with the new regime is kind of like a little bit of refreshing because we feel like we've actually got players that may pan out. So Jamin Davis is a wait and see, but I definitely feel his biggest impact would be going to get the quarterback. But we'll wait and have to see on what it is that they actually do with Jamin Davis. The clock is officially ticking for him. It's either put up or shut up time. I don't see him being here next year regardless of his impact, unless he just absolutely blows up, then potentially. But other than that, I don't really know if he'll be here post this season. Quickly, let's give some shout out. Shout out to my man Dorgun. I believe you will be going to the Tampa Bay game. At this point, it's looking like your boy will be going to his first away game too. So I most likely will be in attendance for that. This is my first ever away game. So, what I'm saying? I most likely will be in attendance with that when we play Tampa Bay. Shout out to my man Protect. We supposed to be chopping it up, hooking that thing up. So hopefully we get the dub. JD's first game. My first away game. Yeah, shout out to Tampa Bay, right? Or Tampa, really. Dorgun, shout out to him. My man Alante, Rob Bean, what's up? Lamont, what's going on? Will Diggs. Shout out to everybody. And we play the Falcons, right, this year. Is it in Atlanta or is it
Nah, it's in Landover. It's like week 17. I think it's the second to last game before the Cowboys, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to wish that on us. But I feel like it's about time for us to finally lose to him. I don't know, man. Like, I ain't gonna lie. Like, we've been getting away. If Desmond Ridder wasn't so bad, Like okay, back to Jamin Davis for a second. Yeah, he made a great play. But that was a poorly like just thrown ball
Yeah,
by Desmond Ritter. So
Terrible.
if Kirk Cousins is playing by that time, I don't know, man. He might end up getting us, but hey, let's hope for the best, and maybe we burst onto the scene and we don't even need that game. But yeah, Bucks
please.
is about 45 minutes from the crib. Yeah, I most likely will be in attendance for that. We'll definitely link up for that. All right, so you brought up Brandon Coleman. Let's see. First of all, are we done talking about the defense? I mean, we could circle back if anything, but
Mhm.
you brought up the offensive line. And my man Will Diggs said he's hearing good things about Brandon Coleman. I'm not sure if you've got a chance to do the film breakdown on him yet, but initially when I looked at it, I was kind of going off of what ESPN Talking Heads was saying, because when we initially drafted him on draft night, or that draft night, they kind of was like he was smaller and they don't know if he could play tackle at the next level. However, actually after deep diving into him, I definitely think he has the potential to not only play at this level, but maybe we found a gem of a guy that could be our left tackle that we've been so desperately needing for the last couple of years, since Trent Williams. Really, we haven't had that cornerstone left tackle. And I'm not saying he's nowhere near Trent Williams level, but someone that could be serviceable for the next couple of years. I think he has that potential. Have you got a chance to look at Brandon Coleman? And while you're at it, you can speak to the whole offensive line if you want to.
Yes, sir. So I love him at tackle. Because if you just go back to the year that he played tackle the entire time before they tried to Samuel Cosmium, which stifled his development, wasn't as good. They tried to throw him at guard in 2023, then moved him back to tackle. But in 2022, when he was a pure tackle, he was great. I mean, even against my Georgia Bulldogs, when we think we set a college football playoff record for like the worst, like win, like the biggest basically blowout in college football history or something like that against TCU a couple of years ago. But he was the only bright spot. And that was the same defensive line that had Travon Walker. They ended up going #1 overall. It had Devontae White. It had all of those great Jalen Carter, Jordan Day, all of those guys. He was like the only good on that entire TCU team, the only bright spot. And he held his own. I think he didn't allow a single sack. I'm not sure. He may have only allowed like one pressure or something like that. So when he's been a pure tackle, he's been great. And then also, first of all, Reese, now that we're starting to see him, he looks taller than what people said he was. But even if he was short, his arms have always been long, which is why I felt like he was kind of like a Joe Tooney or even like a Trent Williams type of guy, because he's the same height as Trent Williams and is like basically the same arm length, elite athlete. And so I prefer my tackle to be short in height with long arms than tall in height with short arms any day of the week. He has the long arms. I think he'll be just fine. He may not be ready week 1, but I think he will
Yeah.
eventually develop into a really good left tackle. I mean, his athleticism is crazy. Now, granted, on tape, he may not be like this apex top 5 most athletic tackle to ever get into the NFL like he tested at the combine. But he's still a really good athlete. I think he has a very high. So I think he's literally like a Samuel Cosmi, but potentially at left tackle. And I think that could be like a really athletic offensive line. Granted, I still have my questions about Andrew Wiley. Even though he looked better the second half of last season, he didn't look great, but he was better the second. Once everything settled down and he was pretty straight, we'll see who ends up starting that left guard between Chris Paul or Nick Allegretti. We'll see if he's even healthy enough to go right now. I still haven't really heard anything from him. And I love Tyler Biadasz as our center. So, I mean, we
Yeah.
still have some questions there, but we have talent. It's not just we're not devoid of talent. Like the cornerback room is kind of like, do we even have somebody that's ready to step up? The offensive line, there's talent. We just got to see who's going to end up winning those battles. And then it's left tackle we got to see.
Yeah, I mean, like I said for Brandon Coleman, initially it was kind of like, all right, I could see what they're talking about, but as you mentioned, he has the potential to be tackle worthy. And obviously Cole Luke's still here. I think he can hold it down. I'm not sure if a 17 game Cole Luke can hold it down, but in the flashes that he does come in a pinch,
Mm.
he always is pretty solid too. So I mean, it's all about, for me, if we can just keep 5 healthy and off the ground. If we can,
Yeah.
then we may be better than what my expectations are. But right now, with the questions at the offensive line and otherwhere, everywhere else, I think we kind of will have them ups and downs. A lot of people believe Washington, with the success at the quarterback position, potentially could burst onto the scene like Houston. It wouldn't surprise me, but my expectations is kind of like that up and down. maybe 6 win, 7 win season just because of the question marks headed with the roster. But like you mentioned, maybe Andrew Wiley will be better. A lot of people was trying to tell me that, like, hey Juan, he may be better with this new scheme. I don't know how confident I am in that because he just was absolutely atrocious last year. But maybe with new coaching, maybe with the new scheme, he will be better. I'm not really too confident in it. And as you mentioned, really for me, center guard, I'm comfortable with. Yeah, I am. I
Yeah,
am with that. It's really just the tackle positions. Like,
same.
that's for me. Like, if we could just figure that out, maybe if Andrew Wiley's good and then Cole Luke, he or maybe if we can get away with it. But that's just really my biggest concern. But other than that, interior wise, I feel like we're good. They brought up Eric Flowers from a couple years ago. I still don't know.
Ah,
I don't know. He was good here. I don't know if he did
literally.
something under the table. We really don't know. It just like immediately they just randomly just did it. And we still don't really have no strong explanation as to why, because the offensive line was not good enough to just not bring him back. He was really good for us.
Yeah.
I can't answer that. Rico, do you maybe know why they just randomly just decided not to bring back Eric Flowers, like as if our line was already was good without him?
Man, I have no idea either. He was honestly one of our brightest spots on the offensive line before we cut him. I still have no idea what happened there. And even
Yeah.
just the fact that no other team picked him up too. I'm to your point, I'm like, did he do something off the field wise that people just don't want him?
Yeah, man. I can't really speak to that, y'all. I don't know, man. I don't know why we didn't bring him back or whatever happened to him. But shout out to the We the One Sports and Life Pod. Patrick West, Michael Starkey says, "What's good, Young Kings? What's going on?" Nicole Williams, Philip B, my man, CP, the Truth Seeker, what's going on? The Hawk TV, what's up? Daniel Burry, what's going on? Shout out to everybody in here, man. As we know, we got the man, the myth, the legend, Rico Street Scores on the channel, representing the Commanders out of ATL. Almost at that 22K, man. Get my man there if you haven't already subscribed. All right. Let's see what else. We talked about offensive line. We talked about the defense. Okay, I guess we could start talking about JD and
Yes,
the
sir.
offensive part. Everyone is excited about Jayden Daniels. Not to really put too much into this because it is mini camp, but a report came out today that Caleb Williams struggled today. He wasn't really good. I think he completed just 3 passes in the 7v7. Um,
Whew.
we're not really hearing too many negatives from Jayden Daniels. So again, I don't want to speak too much early into it, but the excitement level around Jayden Daniels here is just amazing. You hear Jonathan Allen talking about how he prides himself on being one of the first ones in the building, and Jayden Daniels is beating him here. Like, just speak about how refreshing it feels to finally potentially have that franchise quarterback that we've been so dearly missing. And everything you've seen from him thus far, just speak on Jayden Daniels. I mean, I know it probably speaks for itself, but just take it away, man, because I've been impressed. I ain't.
I mean, just to start, I mean, to take it all the way back, man. We've been looking for a franchise quarterback forever. I mean, even when we were winning Super Bowls, we didn't have like that 10-year starter like a lot of these other franchises have had that looks like they're going to have. Like, looks like the Texans may have that in CJ Stroud. It looks like the Packers have done it for a third quarterback in a row in Jordan Love. We just have never had that, even when were winning Super Bowls, and neither of us two were alive to see any of the Super Bowls happen. So we didn't get to enjoy any of that. So it's just really nice. And even though he's coming, I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan. He's coming from a rival, but he's a rival I respect heavily. Like, I mean, he's a guy that, hey, man, he had us scared. But even before his 2023 season, where he balled out, ended up winning the Heisman, that SEC championship the year before we ended up beating TCU in the championship game um, after Ohio State. He lit us up. We only won because his defense was so bad. And I was like, I don't even know who this Jayden Daniels kid is, where he came from, but I may need to keep an eye on him in 2023. Now, he definitely exceeded my expectations going in, but he was already on my radar because, like, man, he made my Georgia defense look silly. I think we didn't allow like anybody to get even like 14 points, and then he gave us like 40. I was like, wait, what is going on here? And then he ended up having the season that he had in 2023. Of course, we had the Drake May, Jayden Daniels debates. I would have been happy with either one, but I prefer Jayden Daniels. I'm very happy that we have Jayden Daniels for the reasons that you're seeing already in camp. We're looking at the footwork, the mechanics. We're looking at the accuracy. We're looking at the preparation. I mean, he's I think Zach Ertz said like in a couple of practices ago, like you could tell that Jayden Daniels is studying the playbook ahead of where Cliff Kingsbury is, because every time Cliff Kingsbury comes to add another part of the offense, like another wrinkle, another layer to it, Jayden Daniels is already on it. Like he's been running this offense for already at least a year or two now. So
Yeah.
it's just everything he's doing off the field, on the field. The players, we're starting to see his personality more, because I know a lot of questions before the draft was like, what's his personality? Is he too quiet? You see the Keyshawn Johnson interview. I like this personality there. You see him in practice dancing, celebrating and stuff like that. And I'm also liking that there's a clear difference between him and Marcus Mariota and the other quarterbacks already. When we're now, granted,
Yeah.
it's not like defenders coming to like throw you onto the ground. There's no pass rush or anything like that. But when it comes to like reading defenses, going through your progressions and things like that, from everything that I'm hearing from like Logan Paulson and those guys, he's already ahead of everybody else there. They say that he's already ahead of what Carson Wentz looked like when he was here. He's ahead of what Sam Howell looked like when he was here, as far as like the option's gone, let me get to the next one. That one's gone, let me get to the next one. So I'm really excited. We're seeing the highlights of him dropping dimes 40 yards down the field. That's what he was known for in college. I always hated the thing that people brought up, like, what is he going to do when he doesn't have Malik Neighbors or Brian Thomas? I'm like, well, thank goodness we'll never find out, because he's got Terry, Jahan, and all of these other guys. He's going to keep throwing to fast, really good receivers. He throws an elite, deep slot fade. I want us to keep doing that as well with him moving forward. He's been showing that in practice. So I'm super excited. They're not, and I like the fact that they don't want him using his legs yet. Like, I believe in practice, they're already telling them right now, legs running right now is not an option. Maybe if you run and extend the play and throw it, but you cannot like run for a first down or a touchdown. And I'm glad that that's like something they're really working on this offseason. So when he gets into the game, that he doesn't rely on that. It's a weapon. When you're that fast, you do want to see him pull like a RG3 against the Vikings every now and then. But I want him to become a better pocket quarterback as quickly as possible.
Yeah, man. I mean, you said it all. Specifically, I think what impresses me the most is just, again, the work ethic off the field. I think it was a couple weeks ago where they said he was on the plane with his family, and he was standing up and pretending as if he was at the line of scrimmage and stuff like that. Just the little things like that just puts him above everyone else. The VR thing that Washington hopes to adopt, that helped him be successful at LSU. I was kind of hoping we kept it under wraps until after we succeeded with it, instead of putting it out there. But now I'm already prepared for it, especially if he is successful this year. I'm already prepared for it to become a thing in the NFL, especially with the future of technology headed. I'm already expecting that to be kind of a thing. But hey, look, at least we finally are getting things that we kind of started, and people are going to potentially take away from us if it is in fact successful.
Josh Harris is not playing. He is not being cheap. Look at this coaching staff. Look at this front office. Anything he can spend $1 on to help anything, no matter how small of a difference this makes, Josh Harris is spending whatever it takes.
Yeah, I mean, and then go back to your video a couple weeks ago. I believe you was talking about how you look at this coaching staff and it's just filled with former head coaches, offensive. Like we have head coaches at positional coaching levels, and it's not like they were trash head coaches. Like Anthony Lynn, yeah, maybe sure his tenure in LA/San Diego didn't end properly how they wanted, but he did have some good teams while he was there with Phillip Rivers, and even early Justin Herbert, Cliff Kingsbury. He had success with Kyler Murray there and in Arizona, with having him playing at an MVP level, sometimes playoff berths, and starting off undefeated. And this coaching staff is just outrageous of how talented it is.
Defensive coordinators up and down. I mean, we got Ken Norton Jr. as our linebackers coach. He used to be a defensive coordinator. I forgot the other guy that was like a defensive coordinator. Now he's just our defensive strategist or something like that. Like he's just here. He's just here to give advice. Like it's crazy up and down who we have. Brian Johnson is our passing game coordinator / assistant head coach. I mean, the whole roster is stacked. I mean, it's really Bobby Johnson is the only one I question. Like, I guess we'll see. But they've been doing so well. I'm just gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. If they found the same people that hired all of these guys, they must see something in him. So I'm just gonna let it work and see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, and we can't even continue to keep talking about how positive the team is headed without mentioning the guy Adam Peters, the absolute mastermind behind this turnaround. What gives me confidence that we actually have players that are actually going to pan out, especially in the late rounds, just his track record with the Dre Greenlaws, the Fred Warners, the Brock Purdy's, Mr. Irrelevant, turning out to be their franchise quarterback. A lot of people believe they should have won the Super Bowl. Like Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, like a lot of these people are mid to late round draft picks. These aren't first round picks that we're speaking about. So just that what gives me the confidence that potentially a Luke McCaffrey may absolutely turn into a beast. A Jordan McGee may turn into something special. Brandon Coleman, like just his track record gives me the confidence. That alone, before we even get to free agency and the drafting of Jayden Daniels, that specifically kind of gives me Kyle Smith vibes. I feel like Kyle Smith was really good when it comes to picking late rounders, but not even nearly as good as him and what he did in San Francisco. So before we even transition to the next topic, like I guess we cannot end without giving Adam Peters his flowers of this whole thing, because he's playing if not the most important role, definitely top 3 important role in this rebuild/reload.
I mean, yeah, to your point, like George Kittle in the 5th.
Yeah.
If anybody has an eye for tight ends, it's him. So, hey, Ben Sinnott in the 3rd. I mean, why shouldn't he be great? You know what I'm saying? A lot of people overlook George Kittle. Some people are overlooking Ben Sinnott. We'll see how how he actually turns out. But I mean, because I remember, I think John Lynch or Kyle Shanahan, one of them literally said that Adam Peters runs 4 through 7, like rounds 4 through 7. That was literally his few rounds that he had to himself. He had input on the other rounds, so like they give him a little bit of credit for Fred Taylor in the 3rd and things like that. But like Dre Greenlaw, I believe in the 5th round, George Kittle in the 5th, Talanoa Hufanga maybe in the 5th or 6th or something like that. The Burford guy, their starting guard, like all of these guys are like 4th round or later guys. And they said that Adam Peters literally runs those rounds himself. And then now he's getting his first baby. I mean, this is his first GM job. And even just going back history, like he was there with the Patriots when they were winning all of those Super Bowls. He was one of their top scouts that they trusted the most. Then he went to the Broncos and he drafted Justin Simmons, which I'm surprised we still haven't signed, but hey, it is what it is. But he helped build that Super Bowl that ended up the Denver Broncos Super Bowl 50 to beat my boy Cam Newton, of course. And then he went to the 49ers, and I feel like if anything, even though they whiffed on the whole Trey Lance situation, the fact that they were back in the Super Bowl after giving up those many first-round picks for a failed quarterback experiment within 2-3 years after failing, to be back in the Super Bowl that quickly is phenomenal. I feel like that's more impressive. So this guy, you're just always going to be competitive. Everywhere he's gone, his teams have won Super Bowls, and I'm not expecting that to stop here at all. Now, especially since this is his first baby. This is the first time he's the general manager running the show. I'm expecting him to put his all into this. I mean, and then the hires we're doing, I mean, to just give Adam Peters even more credit, the fact that a guy like Brandon Sosna wants to work with him, these are people that are like, I could go anywhere, or I could even stay where I'm at, but I want to work for Adam Peters, which is just phenomenal.
Yeah, and I mean, it's great that you even brought up the two new hires that we just made. One from USC/Detroit, and then the other one being from Baltimore. Like looking at just specifically before we get into their specific roles, like those two people, look at the organizations they're coming from. Like I want to be the Detroit Lions. Like the Detroit Lions were a horrible franchise, but now they're an organization where they're kind of the class organization that you want to pick from now. And we're doing that. And obviously Baltimore speaks for themselves, doing it for years on end. The guy that came from Detroit and USC, always struggle with saying his name. I think he's solely here, obviously, with the contract thing and the negotiations with the players and coaches and stuff like that. But he also helped at USC get fans back into the stadium and, turn around their whole athletic thing. I think that's really his main thing. He coming here in Washington is finding ways to help Josh Harris. Bring the fans back to the stadium. Obviously, winning's gonna play a big role in that, but the fan experience, the just overall trying to make the best out of FedEx Field before we get up out of there. And what a better guy to come here. And again, he did not have to leave Detroit. You know what I'm saying? I believe they do have a person that's going to be taking over his role, but I don't think he had to leave. And then you go to the Baltimore guy that we just got. Again, it's the Ravens organization. Ozzie Newsome, Eric DeCosta. That's just a phenomenal A+ class organization. And then before we move on to the next topic, to go back to your point about how they're back in the Super Bowl, even after the failed Trey Lance experience, if that was Washington, that would have set us back probably a whole nother century, man. So that definitely speaks to how good
Yeah.
he is as far, and just that whole group is as far as being able to kind of bounce back. Like that's not something that teams often like just they literally just brushed it off their shoulders. Like, all right, we fell. All right, Brock Purdy's ready to rock and roll. Now, granted, just I don't know if they expected Brock Purdy to just be that good, like come off the scene that good. Maybe it's a little bit of luck, but just I mean, no one it's gonna get covered up, but because no one's gonna ever look at it like it was lucky. They're gonna look at it like you were just genius. But just the fact that you was able to just give away picks, he didn't work out, and then like you said, be back in the Super Bowl 2 years later, just outstanding work by that whole franchise. And again, I don't think it stops here in Washington, especially with him getting his own little group and him being the man of the hour, man of the show. Definitely, the future is bright from that standpoint, man. Like I can't speak to how excited I am. I know we say this every single year, but like it genuinely is different. Finally, with new ownership and finally a new coaching staff, and I'm hoping this is the final one for a while, and we don't have to do this 4 years later, man.
Yeah, I
But
mentioned that
yeah,
in my video too. Like all of this fun that we're having with all of these hires and things like that. I mean, hopefully the goal is we don't have another off season like this. It's been great and it's nice to have all of these people in here, but we shouldn't be hiring new entirely coaching staff, new front office next year or anytime soon, hopefully. So I just want everybody, I'm emphasizing that everybody should cherish this offseason. Yeah, we killed it in free agency. I believe we killed it in the draft, but all of the hires that we made, that's not typical. You typically aren't celebrating this much every season in January, February, and March like we were this all. So basically enjoy it. But just to go back to David, who we got from the Ravens, I believe that was his name. I remember seeing that when Joe Ortiz, their GM or whatever he was exactly with the Ravens, left to go be the GM for the Chargers, a lot of people were saying, well, hey, when in doubt, the Ravens still have this David guy. That's who we just got from the Ravens. So a lot of people were really looking at him like next up there. And the fact that he left that situation to come here also says a lot about him. And then back to Brandon, just real quick. I mean, this guy, I'm afraid of him leaving us soon. He's just that
yeah.
he's the Sean McVay of front office, guys. The best way to word him. He's only 31 years old. He was the one, to your point, he was like in charge of bringing fans back to USC, which I hate because I'm sick of USC competing with Georgia for recruits right now. I'm glad he's gone. Thank goodness he's gone already. But he's the one that orchestrated Lincoln Riley. They say a lot of people give him credit for literally being the one that got Lincoln Riley to come to USC. Then with Detroit, he's the one that finessed all of the contracts, like the Jared Goff contract. I remember seeing a Detroit Lions podcast. It was like two reporters, and they were like, they have no idea how Marcus Davenport is making this much money, but it's not hitting the Detroit Lions cap. Like he's literally finesse guy with the contracts, and then he does everything. To like your point, he has his hand in like literally every piece of the organization. He's going to be here for personnel decisions, and it's just like if Adam Peters is running the show and this guy has this much power, and you already have Lance Newmark as your assistant GM. I don't even know how long Brandon Sosna is going to be around. He may leave next year because he's just this genius that I wouldn't be surprised 5-10 years from now. He's like one of the best GMs in the NFL running an entire team himself. So we need to enjoy him and use him up while we have him. We need to go ahead and sign guys like Samuel Cosme to long-term deals while he's here to finesse the contract before he's gone.
Yeah, I mean, definitely use him while you can because guys like him, 31 years old, I believe you said, right? Like
Yeah, crazy.
that's young, bro. Like he's definitely gonna be here for a minute. And sad to say, he probably will be gone because again, he's 31. So you got to think at some point, 40, 50, he's gonna eventually get his own team and be that guy. But like just speaking on having guys like him in those roles, that just goes to show you, like we were saying about the coaching staff or how we have these high ranking coaches in minimum roles here. Just that just shows you like the kind of team we're building. Like the front office is absolutely outstanding from top to bottom.
Dave Gardy. That man was working. He was like Roger Goodell's right-hand man. Most people
Yeah.
work for NFL franchises to get that job. He had that job for like the last 20 years. He left the job that everybody wants to come work for us. Like, I don't know what Josh Harris is paying these guys or what he's telling them, what Adam Peters is selling them on, but it's got to be something crazy because he literally left the job that everybody wants to come help us. So
Yeah.
it's something. They got something going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, man. I mean, like it again, just to take some time to reflect. It's like just 2 years ago, nobody wanted to come here and work with Daniel Snyder, but like just to turn around and just see
To your point, we just signed the most free agents out of the entire NFL in free agency, and we gave nobody like a big contract. We didn't have to overpay.
yeah,
A guy like Jeremy Chin easily could have gotten more money than what we gave him on another
mhm,
team. He chose to bet on Adam Peters in the way he's building his organization, but most importantly, Dan Quinn and Joe Wood Jr.'s scheme. Like that's the type of free agency destination we're becoming right now, where it's the front office and it's the coaching staff. I mean, because if he doesn't ball out this year, he's going to end up getting paid very little money again next offseason. So he's not only betting on himself, but he's putting like his whole career in the hands of Dan Quinn and Joe Wood Jr. Please do right by me. Put me in the right situations for me to go earn that big time money next offseason. We were never that for a
yeah.
player until this offseason.
Nah, definitely. And to speak on that quickly, right? Like one thing I will say about the old Washington was I say we were former players retirement home. Like we were that team
Yep.
that they would come when they were washed up, but they knew Washington. Dan Snyder was so fixated
Jason
on giving
Taylor,
out Jason Taylor, Deion Sanders, countless other
McNabb.
Albert Hainsworth. Like these guys knew like they didn't have to play hard here. They could be trash, washed up, but Washington was going to give them hundreds of millions of dollars. Like we're now that organization where like just think how successful we've been with signing so many players, Austin Eckler, Jeremy Chin, Bobby Wagner in the first year of our rebuild. Now let Washington go out there and have a Texans kind of year. Could you
Yeah.
imagine the free agents that will actually want to come next year if Washington gets put on the map this year? Let Jayden Daniels go out and win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Washington wins a playoff game. The free agents are going to be, crawling to Washington, banging their agent's phone. Get me to Washington. How can we go play with Jayden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, and everything that they're building over there, man? So again,
That's
it's
a great
just the
point.
start. Yeah, it's
I was
just
gonna say
the
that's a
start.
great point because even if you think about Justin Herbert winning Offensive Rookie of the Year, soon after that, Khalil Mack did whatever he could to get over there. They got I forgot the elite corner that came from the Patriots that went over there. To your point,
JC
if like
Jackson.
Jayden Daniels looks great immediately, it's gonna attract a lot of the top free agents from other teams to just be like, man, I just want to be a part of that right there.
Yeah, JC Jackson is the name that you was looking for.
Thank you,
That came from the
appreciate it.
Patriots. Yes, sir. He's a Terp. He's a Terp, and unfortunately, I don't think he panned out in LA. And a lot of people believe like he was just a Patriots. Bill Belichick kind of got Bill has kind of whisper when it comes to cornerbacks. But yeah, man, it's just year one, and that excitement level is super high. Like I just can't wait to actually get on the field. I'm even excited for these joint practices. Like last year, I was
Yeah,
excited for the Ravens one. You know what I'm saying, with Sam Howell, stuff like that. But now we got the Dolphins coming into town. I don't know if we actually, yeah, I believe they'll come in. I'm not really sure how that whole thing works, but we have the joint practices with them, and I'm excited for that because that is going to be a good matchup for Washington, especially defensively with the Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Odell Beckham, and what they got going on offensively. That is definitely going to be fun. But we do have a little bit, ways away before we get to that. Now, before we get up out of here, I do want to take some comments and also talk about this wide receiving core because for me, I went into this thing talking about like I would say maybe a month ago or a couple weeks ago to a month when I was just coming back on. Like I felt like our big three kind of got weakened. Because I was honestly, Rico, I was perfectly fine with Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, and Jahan Dotson. Like I felt like with the
yeah,
quarterback, that trio was good. Like we were good enough to win with those guys. And I was like, man, you know what? Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Alameda Zaccheaus. This is before Luke McCaffrey really became a big name or whatever
yeah.
for us, and we think he could be successful. I was like, I don't really know how I'm feeling about this wide receiving core. First things first, Terry McLaurin is going into year 6. It is absolute. I had to shed a tear when I commented that early because I'm like, Terry, year 6 already, man. Like, I just remember first game he came on the scene 2019. Should have had 2 touchdowns that game, but he's already in year 6. Now, granted, his year 6 is probably not like a 23, 22-year-old, 21-year-old year 6 because they've been in the league longer. Terry came in year 23, 24 years old. However, his year 6 isn't necessarily he has much more what is it called, ability to I guess do more. His tires aren't really treaded too much. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Because
Yeah.
his year 6 is cleaner than someone that's been in the league younger and earlier. However, he is getting up there in age, and at some point you got to expect him to slow down. It may not be no time soon because Terry, he kind of stays healthy, for the most part. But outside of that, Jahan, he was frustrated with his season last year, rightfully so. He expects to have a better year. Alameda Zacchaeus, Luke McCaffrey, and then like after that, it's kind of, I know you got De'Ami Brown, I know you got Mike Mitchell Tinsley and other guys that you can call. I believe Bryson Tremaine's still around. Like there's other guys
Yeah, yeah,
here,
yeah.
but outside of Terry and Jahan, really, and Luke McCaffrey, I'm not a big Olamide Zacchaeus person, but if we could find a way to utilize him and give him, some snaps and some opportunities, kind of like how Philly used him, maybe he'll be good. But like for me, this starting receiving core, it scares me a little bit because I like that Curtis Samuel, Terry, and Jahan. And how do you
Yeah.
feel about the receiving core? And do you think, Cliff could find a way to get the most out of not even just Terry McLaurin, but the rest of this receiving core?
Yeah, I mean, I am a little nervous about it. It's very dependent on how good Luke McCaffrey's gonna be,
Yeah.
like off rip. Because I mean, remember he's only been playing receiver for the last 2 years. I mean, college wise at least. Because I mean, maybe he played some receiver I think in high school, but like college he was quarterback, I believe. Just switched to wide receiver 2 years ago, so still fairly raw in that area. But he's already showing some potential now. He has some flashes in college. It's completely dependent on how good he's going to be. Of course, I wanted some height in the receiving room.
Yeah.
We haven't necessarily addressed that, even though Luke McCaffrey is our tallest receiver at 6'2", but that's not the amount of height I was talking. I was thinking like 6'5". You do have a Bryson Tremaine, but he seems like he's more than likely going to be a practice squad guy. But even though the receiver room particularly doesn't have like a lot of talent, I just think the offense as a whole is going to be better, most notably because of the scheme and being led by Jayden Daniels. And I think everybody will be productive because of that. But yeah, I agree. Like I'm not in love with the depth of this wide receiver core, especially since everybody's kind of the same person too. Like after Terry,
Yeah.
Jahan, and Luke, it's kind of just a bunch of short, shifty slot receivers almost. Like we don't really
Yeah.
have too much diversity back there, further in the depth chart. Hopefully, my Georgia boy Marcus Rosemi can get back healthy because he made that really good catch and caught Dan Quinn's attention. But even him,
Yeah.
like he's not ever since because he was very athletic coming out of high school, but then he had that serious leg injury against Florida like several years ago. Since then, he's not a great athlete. He's actually like really like pretty slow, but he's gonna catch everything you throw towards him. Maybe he can fill out a role for that. But even then, like it's not a great receiver. I can see us going receiver either heavy in free agency next offseason or by like the second or third round the next draft. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think we're gonna get production because of the offense around them, but the receiver core isolated, not that great in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely think uh nah, it's not a stocking cap, bro. It's a beanie, bro. Nah, that's crazy. But yeah, so the receiver core definitely, like I said, for me is definitely a little bit concerning. De'Ami Brown still hasn't panned out. At first, I was kind of like, it's the opportunities that they don't give it to him. With last year, with beginning of the year before that, Scott Turner just never gave him opportunities. But when he had his, minimum opportunities, uh, he doesn't always take advantage of them. So he's not quite panning out. Don't expect him to really do much. Jamison Crowder, our punt return guy, he's reliable, but he's definitely older. Like I definitely see us going receiver heavy next year, especially like I'm telling you, like how we just talked about the free agent guys. I'm telling y'all, let Jayden Daniels win offensive rookie of the year or Washington be successful as a whole. He wins offensive rookie of the year and Washington goes to the playoffs. I'm telling you, Brandon Ayuk is going to be signed here. Like if Washington has any kind of success next year, next year, Brandon Ayuk is going to be a commander. Not only with just the connection with Adam Peters in San Francisco, but he's literally Jayden Daniels' best friend. Jayden Daniels said that's his dream teammate. If we do good this year and receiver is something that we still need to upgrade, I'm more than certain they would throw the big bag at Brandon Ayuk to just pair up with Terry McLaurin, then have Jahan Dotson in the slot as a third option. Like Jahan Dotson being a third option is absolutely insane because I do think he has potential to be a high number 2 in this league if given the opportunities. So I do think we need to upgrade the wide receiver room next year. And then you speak to Luke McCaffrey's ability to play. If he's just anything, like if we can get 50% of what his brother is. Maybe even I would say probably like 45% of what Christian McCaffrey is. Like we got us one. And then speak to his dad, who's absolutely a beast too. Like if we can get them genes, I think we also got us another one in Luke McCaffrey. A lot of people compare him to Puka Nakua when it comes to fantasy. A lot of people that do fantasy there and do the shows on NFL Network are telling people literally banging the table. If you have the opportunity to draft Luke McCaffrey in your fantasy drafts, do it before he gets known and he starts tearing it up, because that they think he can have a Puka Nakua kind of impact on this roster. All right,
And
now go
oh,
ahead.
just to even go back to Christian McCaffrey, I did the relative athletic score for both of them, and he
Yeah.
was more athletic as a wide receiver, and if you change it to running back, he was the more athletic running back. He had like a higher score for both than Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, that's crazy. And Christian McCaffrey, to see what he turned out to be, I'm telling you, if we could just get like half of that or a little bit under half, we got us one that could work out. Now, quickly, I do want to continue with the offense, and then we'll take some comments and probably get up out of here. Um, Tight end. Ben Sinnott was my favorite pick out of the draft. I've been so in love with these tight end picks because I'm like, if they are used correctly, we can be they can be really good with Ben Sinnott, with Cole Turner. I was excited about Cole Turner, man, but we just absolutely buried him under the roster. Yeah, he got hurt, but he also went healthy, got buried under the roster. We really didn't use him.
Yeah,
Monty
I'm still
Rogers,
confused by that.
yeah, Monty Rogers gets hurt. Like, I think there's potential here with the tight end room, and we have guys that could show and actually be solid if given the opportunity. Ben Sinnott for me, I immediately, before I even seen anything, before people even like said the comparisons and like showed the similarities, I said, oh yeah, this is Kyle Juszczyk all the way. Like this is literally Kyle
Yeah.
Juszczyk all the way when I first turned on this film. And to see what Kyle Juszczyk is for that offense, granted, it is Kyle Shanahan's running up, and that dude is absolutely amazing. Ben Sinnott definitely could be that impactful guy for Washington and be that Kyle Juszczyk. But also, even Zach Ertz, he hasn't been healthy the last couple years, but considering the fact that he has familiarity with Cliff Kingsbury's offense and how he likes it to run, could we see a little bit of a resurgence from Zach Ertz? You know, he tore us up every year. Him and Carson Wentz gave us absolute hell when they were with the Eagles, man. I hated Zach Ertz because he always just punished us. Speak to the Ben Sinnott and just the whole tight end group, Zach Ertz too. How you feeling about that and the potential success that can come from there if used correctly?
Oh yeah, I'm super excited about the tight end room. Now, granted, Zach Ertz is older, and he's been fairly injury prone the past couple of years. But if he's healthy, man, his ability to be like a perfect safety blanket, nuanced route runner for Jayden Daniels, like he's gonna be the guy that's always open. That's what I love about him. Logan Paulson even talked about him recently and said, like, yeah, like I mean, we have a lot of talent in the tight end room. He said Armani Rogers somehow looks like he's fully recovered from his injury and looks like probably our most athletic tight end already. So he's an explosive athlete. He said guys have been making plays. The tight end rooms look good, but Zach Ertz stands out because of his nuance, like his veteran seasoning to where he knows how to leverage himself, how to like be up against the corner until the last second to break open, and then the ball's already there wide open because like the timing to it and things like that. So
Yeah.
if he can bring that, which is, I feel like Zach Ertz and Tyler Biadasz are going to be so huge for Jayden Daniels as a rookie because those guys are going to make his job way easier. I mean, Jayden Daniels already knows how to like change protections at the lines and things like that, but Tyler Biadasz is going to take over a lot of that, helping with the protections, making sure Jayden Daniels see they're on the same page and things like that. That's why you bring in a veteran center. But the equivalent to that at the tight end room, I mean, he's always going to be open. Jayden Daniels, when in doubt, that's a guy that you can throw it to as long as he's healthy. And then the rest of the room, like I'm with you, man. Ben Sinnott, love him. Like I would say he's like 70% Kyle Juszczyk, but he's like 30% something else because he's also a really good receiver. Like contested catches in the red zone, all of that. He can play fullback. He can be the big slot, like the guy that used to play for the Dolphins but went to the Patriots. I can't remember his
Mike
name right
Gesicki.
now. He I mean he can literally play every position, and you got to be really smart to be able to play 4 or 5 different positions basically. So
Yeah.
fullback, all of that. I thought it was interesting that he ended up with 82. I thought he was going to end up with a more fullbacky number, like a Chris Cooley 47 or something like that.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited about his potential. He was, I mean, I feel like, of course, it was Brock Bowers. But even then, like, I mean, I love Brock Bowers. I think he is arguably a generational talent, but he's only like 230, 40 something. Like, he's not big. Whereas, Ben Sinnott can block an edge rusher. You can depend on him to be that inline tight end blocking edge rusher, even though we already have that in John Bates, who a lot of people feel like is arguably the best blocking tight end in the NFL. But the thing about Ben Sinnott that's so great is that he's dual threat. Remember the days of having Jordan Reed, Vernon Davis, Jeremy Sprinkle. Jordan Reed and Vernon Davis on the field, we're throwing the ball because if you run the ball, it's over with regardless. And if Jeremy Sprinkle's on the field, you better run the ball because if you throw it to him, he's going to drop it. And defenses literally saw that. Okay, Jordan Reed's on the field. Let's, change our defense to basically assume they're about to pass the ball. But when Ben Sinnott's on the field, you really dictate coverages. Like, you're dictating what's going on. Defenses have no idea what's going on. They're going to have to be way more balanced instead of like focusing on stopping one particular thing. Again, that's going to make things easier for Jayden Daniels as well. So I think that combination of Zach Ertz and Ben Sinnott at the top of your tight end room, and then with all of the talent backloaded, to your point, Cole Turner is a contested catch god, but for some reason they just didn't give him opportunities last year. I think Jayden Daniels will be able to unlock that as well. I think we have we have the floor and the ceiling in our tight end room. That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, definitely, man. And if y'all have any questions for us before we get up out of here, please don't hesitate to comment. Then we'll take a couple, and then we'll let my man Rico get back to that grinding, man. We know you got the fire content in the vault that you got to get back to working on. So we'll take a couple questions. If y'all have any, then we'll get my man Rico up out of there. Appreciate him for stopping by. But no, speaking back quickly to the tight end room, like similar to the quarterback position for me, we haven't had that dog since Jordan Reed. I will take this to my grave. I believe if Jordan Reed stayed healthy, he would currently be in the comment section, or I say comment section, the group of best tight ends in the league with Travis Kelce, George, because I think he was that talented. But unfortunately, concussions and injuries ruined him. We haven't had that similar to quarterback position since. Well, Kirk Cousins was around that time, so we haven't had that quarterback security since Kirk Cousins. Even he wasn't secure because he ended up leaving, or Jordan Reed. So hopefully we could not only find our franchise quarterback, but in the same draft, kind of find that stabilization at the tight end position too, because we desperately need it. We know a tight end's best friend or a quarterback best friend is a tight end, so that would absolutely be amazing if we could find our George Kittle or our new Jordan Reed. Chris Cooley compared himself to Ben Sinnott, so I don't know if that says a lot because Chris Cooley was one of the better Washington tight ends in their franchise. So
just definitely more athletic Chris Cooley, really, like just a way more athletic. Also, I want to point out the fact that like I forgot the name of the tight end. I think his name is Cole or something like that at LSU. Ben Sinnott is way better than him. So Jayden Daniels is gonna be happy. I know that.
Yeah. Since I forgot 85 name at the moment, you guys think he'll make the team this year? 85.
Is that Cole Turner? Who's 85?
I believe that's Cole Turner. Yeah, I believe that's Cole Turner. I think so. I definitely think so. I mean, you look at the tight end room right now. It's Zach Ertz, Ben Sinnott, John Bates. Then it's Cole Turner, Amani Rob. Oh man, it's a lot of actually talented tight ends right there. It's gonna be some that might get left off depending if they keep 3, if they keep 4. You know what I'm saying? I don't really know. But you want to speak to that? Do you think Cole Turner, chances of making a roster is kind of slim, kind of higher? What do you think about
I'm rooting for him. I mean, his problem is the thing that he's best at is that a lot of quarterbacks, and I feel like Jayden Daniels will do this, but a lot of quarterbacks, are afraid to throw it up to the guy that can't get open. He's a contested catch guy. That scares some quarterbacks. Hopefully Jayden Daniels isn't afraid of that. But Cole Turner's like best trait is something that a lot of quarterbacks are afraid of even really trying. I feel like Armani Rogers is the most athletic. That's what he has going for him. Benson is the most versatile. Zach Ertz is the veteran. And then John Bates is your best blocker. If we hold 5 tight ends, great. I mean, obviously Cole Turner should make it. I'm rooting for him as well, but like he doesn't really have that one thing that like really shows that he should make it other than contested catch ability. But even then, Zach Ertz can do that some. Ben Sinnott showed that a lot in college as well. But I think Cole Turner is our best contested catch tight end. But compared to like Armani Rogers' athleticism, Ben Sinnott's versatility, and all of that type of stuff, it's tough. I mean, we went from what are we going to do at tight end to now we have too many, especially with Armani Rogers back healthy, which is a great problem to have. I'm rooting for Cole Turner because I think he could be really good. I wouldn't be surprised if for some reason like Cole Turner doesn't make the team, he goes somewhere else and balls out. I would not be surprised in the least at all.
Yeah. Christopher says, who's the fullback? I mean, I guess at this point you would have to assume it would be, maybe a Ben Center or something if we in fact
Yeah.
try to use him in that H back kind of role, maybe. Um, so I'm just gonna assume it's him. I'm not really sure. Let's see if we have any more questions. If not, we'll let my man Rico get up out of here, get back to the grind, and appreciate you again for stopping by. Since
Yes, sir.
LMC was deaf for still and kind of new since Peters knew Christian McCaffrey well, especially the bond between those two. He actually said on the phone call of him drafting LMC, his brother literally told him to take him. Like that should just let you
Oh
know
God.
how locked in they are. Like the fact that Christian McCaffrey could just hit up the general manager and say, "Yeah, take my brother. You won't regret it." Like that should just tell you how highly Christian McCaffrey thinks of his brother, but how like locked in and how much trust Adam Peters has into Christian McCaffrey. Like that could actually mean something there too. RG3 already said JD was a better person coming out of college. Yeah, I definitely made a video on that. I think he meant more specifically like off the field too. That's what I personally think he meant, is a better person coming into the league, because off the field, JD doesn't really have no drama surrounding his name. He's not really like a person that's all for the media. Like he'll do his podcast, stuff like that. But RG3 was like, I would say at this point, a bigger name, obviously the face of NCAA 13 at the time when he came out, or prior to coming out. Like he was the face of that. Like he just was I would say at that point, a bigger star, and just had a lot more notoriety and fame, and like I would say, I don't know if expectations is the right word to use, but like he had a lot more, and he was more interested into like the media, the drama, like,
Yeah.
and it ended up, yeah, exactly.
It has
So
slogans.
I
And
think,
and
yeah,
Jayden Daniels, I mean, I guess the best way to word it, he's more relatable. Like how Anthony Edwards is
yeah.
relatable, Jayden Daniels is definitely more relatable than RG3. That's the best way to word it.
Yeah, and like I just think that's what he meant. Like talent wise, you can make the comparisons between RG3 and Jayden Daniels. If some believe RG3 is better talent, like on the field wise, then I'm not mad at you. If you think Jayden Daniels is better, like it's up to you. But I
I
think
feel
he
like
meant,
RG3 was the better runner, like
yeah,
faster, but I feel like Jayden Daniels is a little bit more agile, and I definitely feel like Jayden Daniels is the better thrower coming out of college. Like definitely the better just pure quarterback, like reading defenses, being accurate and things like that.
okay, yeah. So I mean, speaking to it, then you think do you back up RG3's comments, like when after like seeing both of those guys in college? Do you see what RG3 sees, or you kind of like, what I'm saying, maybe RG3 was better, or was it like I actually see what he's talking about? Jayden Daniels actually, yeah, coming out of college, he's definitely better.
Yeah, I definitely think Jayden Daniels is better. I really think the only real thing that you can compare the two at is just the how fast they are in
Yeah,
relatively strong arms. But like again, RG3 is like a track runner. Jayden Daniels is really fast, but he's not RG3 fast. He's more agile, make you miss. RG3 was just more straight line speed.
yeah,
And then again, Jayden Daniels is definitely the better quarterback coming right in. Like he like reading defenses, going through progressions, changing protections at the line, like a lot of quarterback nuance things. The things that made Tom Brady great, like with
yeah.
all of the lack of athleticism, lack of mobility, I think Jayden Daniels is definitely better at those things than RG3 coming out.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. JD is way better than RG3. We'll take a couple more comments. He says Senate will be the tight end of the future. I'm hoping. I'll always have high. I'm rooting for these tight ends, especially the crop that we have, the group that we have. Bates and Rogers may be the odd man out. Monty Rogers and John Bates. I don't know if I don't necessarily think John Bates have to make this roster, but considering the fact that he's been here a while, he is the best blocking tight end that we have. At least some people believe that. I'm not sure if he won't make this roster, but I mean it doesn't surprise me. And we don't know if they're keeping 3, if they're keeping 4, because they end up, they don't necessarily have to keep 4 running backs. They don't have to keep Chris Rodriguez on the active roster. You know what I'm saying? They could trim off fat somewhere else to keep an extra tight end. It all depends, and you know how the math gets when it comes to trying to make that 53-man roster. It all depends about
Man,
how training camp comes about. You know what I'm saying? Like they
yeah,
they all could ball out, and then like they can end up keeping 4 just because they don't want to allow other teams to get a chance to potentially get them. Now, before we get out of here, like this is the last topic that I want to talk about. I just thought about it because you're the perfect person to talk about it with, because you put a lot of us on to the undrafted free agents every single year. Like you hit it on the head with a couple last year, the year before that. Chig Anusium is a guy that you covered a lot in your video, and a lot of people believe, hey man, he can be something. Speak to that, and I forgot to even mention him in the cornerback discussion too. He may actually be good too. Speak to him. What you saw from him. Do you think he's a guy that could make this roster and actually maybe get some PT? And just the overall undrafted class, are there some guys other than him that people may not be talking about that could potentially make an impact on this roster if they have a strong training camp and preseason?
Yeah, with Chiggy, he's an interesting case because his problem is consistency. Well, first of all, his athletic testing, I think he's another guy that tested better than he actually is like on tape. Like he tested ridiculous at his pro day, and he's a great athlete, but he's not like what you see on his relative athletic score. But
Yeah,
the talent is definitely there. The length is there. The talent is there. His problem is consistency and like really focused. Like he just has great snaps, then he'll just randomly have bad snaps. And it's never been like a lack of talent. It seems more like a lack of focus.
yeah,
So I think he has a chance again, especially since our cornerback room isn't very defined. It's not like this tight end room that has a lot of competition and things like that. I mean, some anybody can really stick out. Chiggy definitely has a great chance to. And then outside of him, the undrafted free agents, I'm rooting for my boy Marcus Rosemy-Jack Saint, but he's hurt right now. But even Marcus Rosemy-Jack Saint included, my favorite drafted free agent is easily by far Tyler Owens. I literally mocked him to us in the 7th round of one of my mock drafts. So I was like super excited when we got him as an undrafted free agent. I was sick when we didn't draft him. Then we got him as an undrafted free agent. I was like, even better. Because, I mean, he's just a freak. He's the freakiest of freak athletes. Like, he's more athletic than even Jeremy Chin. You could argue Jeremy Chin is one of the most athletic players in the NFL. He has a perfect 10 relative athletic score. Like, Tyler Owens, different. Right now, he's unplayable because he's so raw. He's so undisciplined. He's so unnuanced that he's literally unplayable right now. But you just got to stow that guy away, wait for like maybe a year or two, play him on special teams, and you eventually have a gem. I mean, when we're talking athleticism, we haven't seen a safety this athletic outside of
yeah,
Jeremy Chin in a long time on
yeah,
this team, in this roster, really in the NFL. Like, I love Kyle Hamilton, but he's more athletic than him. Like, the ceiling is crazy. He's just literally unplayable right now. But he's weird because he's the one that doesn't believe in space and stuff like that. And I don't get what that is. I hope the only space he don't believe in is between him and the receivers. But I don't know if he'll play free safety because he's freakishly athletic. I don't know if he'll play in the box because he's long and big. Even Logan Paulson pointed out the fact that him and Dominique Hampton have made a couple of plays so far in early practices. So we'll see. But that's my favorite undrafted free agent. And then a guy that may make the team is I forgot the running back, his last name, but his name is Austin. And he literally looks like Austin Eckler. They're almost the same skin tone. I think they're the same height. I think they're like 1 or 2 pounds off. They play the same. They're both not very fast, but they're productive receiving backs. He's literally an Austin Eckler clone. Maybe he makes the roster because of that.
yeah.
And then there's just random talented guys that we have in the group as well. You never know. Somebody may show out this offseason and surprise all of us.
Yeah, definitely, man. So, hey, we're gonna call it, wraps here. Let me actually turn on my other camera as that one just died 1 second and give y'all a proper outro. Now that's crazy. The timing is absolutely impeccable because the camera literally just died. But now we're back. We're good.
Yes, sir.
So appreciate you, Rico, as always, for coming back. Actually, let me say this one last thing. Shout out to my man Alante. He said his fiance's getting them tickets to the preseason game. Shout out to my man. Hopefully, you know what I'm saying, you enjoy that. I believe it's for your birthday. Hey, your birthday is 17. Mine's the 15th. So shout out to you, Leo gang.
Yes, sir. Okay.
So I appreciate you, Rico, as always, for stopping by. Anything you want to say to the people, any videos you got coming up, let us know. Everything.
Yeah, man, y'all know me, man. I'm starting to work on these film sessions for the draft class. I'm excited. As always, man, Juan, always let me know. Appreciate you having me. Great stream as always, man. Yeah, man, just always hit me up. You already know where to find me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So that's my man Rico from Street Scores holding it down from the A. The Mecca is just anything. Like Atlanta just has everything. Everyone calls it the infinite money glitch. I don't know if I need to take a trip down there and maybe $1 million is spawned into my bank account because Atlanta just has everything going on. So shout out to my man Rico for holding it down from us, man, for us down there. Make sure y'all subscribe to Rico on the road to 22,000. That is an absolutely great accomplishment, my man. Like, comment, subscribe. Help us to watch. Think Emmanuel's on the road to 7,000 subscribers. Be greatly appreciated if you could subscribe to the channel. We'll be back live again next week. Y'all have a blessed one. Stay safe. It's me, boy Juan Gotti. I'm out. Peace.